Progress.
6:08 p.m. First order of business is roll call. May we please commence roll call? Yes. Good evening, everyone. Student trustee Mal. President Nida Manuri.
Present.
Vice President Kasowski.
Present.
I'm sorry, guys, give me just 1 second. Chief of Staff Donners,
Present.
Speaker of the House Taylor. Treasurer Hawk.
Present.
Okay. Graphic designer Mock.
Present.
Web administrator Selvaraj.
Here.
Chairperson Guerrero. Chairperson Patineo. Chairperson Almentras.
Present.
Chairperson Fernandez.
Present.
Chairperson Celestino.
Present.
Representative Chavanik. Representative Chavanik.
Chwaniak, present.
I see her, okay. Representative Beltran.
Present.
Representative Cesar. Representative Cruz. Representative Peredruk.
Present.
Representative Peredruk.
Present.
Okay. All right. Representative Leyva.
Present.
She's here. Representative Ponce. Representative Patel.
Present.
Okay. Representative Sharma.
Present.
Also here. Representative Bogdan. Representative Bogdan. Representative Erlbacher.
Present.
Representative Bilovska. Representative Bilovska. Representative Bassig. Representative Chadari. Representative Lamisa Khan.
Present.
Representative Lamisa Khan, present. Okay, Representative Rose. Representative Reardon. Oh, she's absent. Representative Mortaza.
Present.
Representative Rashid. Representative Thumu.
I'm here, present.
Representative Maria Hawk. Representative B. Representative Slaughter. Representative Joe. Representative Barentonks.
Here.
He's in the Zoom. Representative Nguyen. Representative El Saadi. Representative Basta. Representative Mehta. Representative Ali. Representative Blinn. Representative Carbanda.
Present.
Representative Sarah Khan.
Present.
Representative Sarah Khan. Okay. Representative Malik.
Present.
Representative Zaloom. Representative Satar. Representative Omanii. Representative Dolma.
Present.
Representative El Adwan. Representative Corral. Representative Corral. Are you here? Okay. Roll call's done. Thank you. Next order of business is reading and approval of the minutes. Please take this time to read over the minutes. And just so you know, absence and attendance is included in the minutes. So if you are on there and you came late last time and you were marked as absent, this is the time where you would amend that. Let us know. Did everyone hear me? Is it not connecting? Oh, sorry. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, if not, the minutes from the last meeting will be filed. Next is reading of approval of the agenda. Please take this time to read over the agenda. Are there any corrections?
Yes, I have a correction. Could we add Title IX as a item of discussion, please?
Um, Okay, there has been a motion to add Title IX as an item for discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, please say nay.
Aye.
Does anyone abstain? Okay, Title IX has been added as an item for discussion. Are there any more corrections to the agenda? Okay, if not, the agenda will stand as approved. Next, we have public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, our next order of business is our guest speakers. Today we have two guest speakers. And our first guest speaker is the quad redesign. We have David Tayers and Jonathan Fair, if I could pronounce your name correctly. Yes. If you guys want to just come and present here, you can hook up your computer, Darian, if you can help them with any.
Okay. So while Jonathan is getting set up, I'll just introduce ourselves. Thank you very much for having us. My name is Dave Tires. I lead the Office of Planning, Sustainability, and Project Management here at UIC. Is it on? Yeah, okay.
No, can you check? Just hit the. Yeah.
You can hear me better now. So again, I lead the Office of Planning, Sustainability, and Project Management at UIC. I'm also the university architect here, and have been working on the master plan update, which was back in 2018. You've probably seen images of that. You've seen a lot of the projects that we've kind of rolled out because of that, the ARC being one of them. And we want to bring one of those projects that was conceived as part of the master plan update, the quad redesign to you. The plan is for us to do that work next summer. And so we want to share with you where we are with that. Jonathan is the Director of Planning and Design in our office, and he's going to walk us through the presentation. And I'll add in 2 cents as appropriate. But,
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for letting us have your audience. I'll give it a second for the second screen to do that. Just so that everybody can see the screen. I don't know how much time we have allotted. Just engage.
Yeah, so we have a short agenda. Typically, I'll time 10 minutes. If for some reason this is going to go over like 15 minutes today, then I will start to time it, and I'll let you know if we're going to cut some time. But you guys are the only ones. We have you and one more guest speaker. So I was just going to kind of let people ask as many questions as seem necessary. So.
That sounds good. We're not going to be terribly long-winded, so I'll keep it brief. So, hi everybody. I'm Jonathan Fair. Dave Tires mentioned plan and design. So we'll jump right into it. So, what you all see on your screen now is something that likely all of you are very familiar with, which is the existing campus quad space. As you can see, it's just the open concrete paver plaza. It's got some of the seating that's off to the sides, and at its core is predominantly used as a pass-through space for circulation, but it's also an excellent platform for impromptu and planned events. Here's a site plan of that space, with north being at the up and that's lecture center B that's at the top center of that page here. You guys can see my mouse there just to give you some sense of location. And once again, as it currently stands, we've got the large paper space that's at the center. We've got some of the raised seating areas that flank that large open space that also house some of the green space that's there currently. So the renovation has a few goals. At its core, we know that the circulation through that space has to still be maintained, so that's a top priority. And we're also very sensitive to the fact that this is a space for students. So all the events, both programmed and unprogrammed and impromptu, still need to take place. So this is going to remain a platform for that. But beyond that, the scope of this project looks to really fundamentally change the utilization of the space. I mentioned before that currently the predominant use if you're on campus is really to get from place to place. If you're going from south east to the northwest part of the campus, or if you're coming from the library over to Student Center East, you're mostly spending your time cutting through that space with maybe some by chance encounters with some of your peers and colleagues here at the university. So we really want to introduce this as a space that's more of an active hub on the campus and an outdoor space to really kind of make it a sticky space for socialization, for lingering, for recreation. This planning effort was not only just actualized in the master planning effort that was just passed by the board back in 2018, but actually reaches all the way back to some efforts that began in 2015, 2014. To the left, you see an image of what was a campus quad survey that was likely distributed before anyone's time in here. But some of the outcomes that we heard from the over 700 students that participated at that time was that there was a hope to see for a definite improvement to the space from the current hardscape that it is, but then to introduce specific aspects. Those are kind of highlighted there with those keywords. So some green space added, outlets for electrical power, some additional seating which is sort of needed, but then open space and trees as well. So to the right of this slide is an image of a diagram that starts to actualize that this idea of kind of a central lawn, which is what we one of the things that we heard from the survey. And the circulation basically responds to that. And it fundamentally changes from cutting directly through the core of the space to moving around the perimeter of the space. There was a lot of work to study and make sure that the clearances were in check to allow that to be in control. This is an image maybe some of you are familiar with. This is from the 2018 master plan update from several years ago. But this is when some of the ideas started to germinate about what this space could be. One of the first times that this idea of a central lawn started to formulate, really to offer a surface that would better support not only just impromptu events and things in terms of different activities, but also recreation, lounging, and things like that as well. So that was really just the starting point. We did have some feedback opportunities from that master plan update in the form of a handful of town halls, as well as an online forum that was up for, was actually open for about 8 months. So for the most part, we received mostly compliments about the space, but there were some concerns about the circulation, so that was definitely at the top of our list. Got into the design, which is where we are now. And lastly, we have a Chancellor's Design Review Committee, which this project in particular was reviewed twice by that committee. So what you're looking at now is an iteration of the design that's slightly outdated now. This is, like Dave mentioned, a project that's in progress now, one that we're hoping to start construction in the summer. So some of the elements of the design has changed, but I wanted to include it because the rendered version here in color effectively communicates materials as a service. So, one of the key features that you've all seen here is a lawn space at the center. Otherwise, there are kind of 2 areas that flank that to the north and the south. We'll start at the north side of it. This is an area of permeable pavers that make up the surface, as well as a rain garden area that's right here around the 3 that I'm circling there. And aside from that, it's just an offering of furniture. We're talking about tables, seating, and things like that to accommodate smaller groups as well as medium-sized groups. Each fitted with electrical outlets, as well as space for accessible access for those with different abilities, which is at the core of all of our projects. So jumping down to the far south end, and we'll touch on this a little bit more, but this is an additional seating area, but we heard from people that the introduction of shade was important to help make this space somewhere that you can linger a bit longer. So this is an area that's known as a bosque. It's basically a landscape that's dotted by trees with a hardscape underneath it. We'll have some more images I'll touch on soon. But I wanted to touch on that those three components, as well as kind of the surrounding walkway system, make up the base bid, the base project that we're looking at here. And what you see on the sides here, highlighted by the dashed blue lines, is an alternate bid. Once we go off our bid for this work, we find that we have the budget available still. These items that we're trying to actualize those elements of the design as well. But those are raised beds that will be for the heritage gardens that some of you may know are existing within that space. This would not only help provide and refresh some of those beds which are damaged, but also provide wheelchair accessibility as well. So looking at improving that as well as the walkway surface in that. So just to give you guys an idea of some of the look and feel, kind of those three key areas. The fire pit is one element that's also going to be included in some of the seating areas. I talked a little bit about the look and feel of that bosque. So, image here to show you, it'll be a permeable paver area in that, as well as some gravel that's there. And then just in terms of some of the site furniture, we've actually heard from some of your other peers, students here, just about the type of furniture that fits. So picnic table options, some more lounge-like seating, but definitely a mix of table and seating. For comparison, that central lawn space, we've shown this image here that kind of describes that within the existing quad area. So it's roughly 1-for-1 in terms of the size of the open paver area that currently exists there. So this is the relative size that exists. And then this is an image that gets into one of the construction drawings that's in progress. And it touches a little bit on some of the clearances, in terms of that concern about circulation. So we are significantly improving upon some of the clearances of the current design, especially along the east and west sides, but then also making sure for students and other campus guests that are traveling, like I mentioned before, from southeast and northwest, that they would have ample paths and space for them to get around and navigate that. That lawn is going to be flanked by some low wall seating, essentially. So, the idea is that, like I mentioned before, fundamentally we're changing the circulation path around this area that's going to really be activated by events and activities. At the core of all of our projects for PSPM is our sustainability goals, our commitment to the climate action implementation plan. So this project embodies that on several fronts. As you can see, it's a representation of the plan, not only in terms of water use, biodiverse vegetation, but also in terms of the permeable pavement and rain garden, helping to, along with the lawn, helping to assist with some of the stormwater. We also are planting a significant amount of new trees to replace the trees that are currently in the quad and some of them in moderate health. But then we're also sensitive to other things that we heard from students and staff as well, about the different types of uses that's the space really needs to be able to perform. So in terms of it being an impromptu performance space, we want a planned performance space, a platform for students to kind of have their voices heard in the corporate campus, for activism and protest is something that this area will definitely be democratized for the to do so. But then there was also questions about accessibility. Obviously, with the hardscape, that's not so much of an issue, but introducing a grass lawn to the core of this space was one area that, if done incorrectly, could be a potential issue, especially for users of heavier motorized chairs. So we look to our own great lawn here in the city, which is the city's largest open lawn attraction, and in particular, how it met some of the ADA requirements in terms of it being an open lawn space. And planning to follow that same guidance in terms of a stable soil base, as well as maintaining the grass to be cut low enough for it to not become an issue. However, when we experience heavy rains, similar to the significant downpour that we have now, that would be not only an issue for someone that ability, but for someone walking in as well. So with grass comes just some downtime. So this is just really to provide you all an overview of kind of a rough sketch of what that looks like. So I mentioned before, the low retaining wall at the sides of the lawn to allow for seating opportunities, 2 different spaces. And, this doesn't show furniture, but the seating that will be on the north side, and now the glass that's at the south. Really just trying to make this sticky space for student activities. So that just about wraps it up. I'll leave it on this image around, but I'd love to hear questions.
Yeah, so I'll open the floor up for some questions and comments. Please keep in mind that first we are going to have USG members ask questions, and then once all of our members have gotten a chance to ask questions or comments, then our visiting guests will be able to ask questions. I don't know if all our visiting guests are only on Zoom today, but just keep in mind if you guys can hear me. So are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question. The first thing, I think it's great that you've added more permeable pavement. When I was speaking with the sustainability department, that's something that they want to see more of here at UIC. I'm just kind of curious about the seating of your new design. Could you tell me if perhaps you have a percentage of how much it increases seating, or if there's a decrease?
Yeah, so overall, it's exact seat count, because the current seating that we have out there is basically that's there. So I would say that we're coming back with probably at least over an addition of about 100% of the seating that's out there. If you take into consideration the bench seating that we're introducing, I think you said that side of the lawn on top of all of the fixed seating that will be at the north and south side. So, there's the idea about the seat count, but then I think it's also really important that we heard from you all is the introduction of tables as well to
Right.
expand the organization. So that's another key part of that plan that makes it a seat versus a table.
Yeah, just to add a couple things. It's an interesting question, because if you go out there now, again, the space is predominantly a pass-through space, aside from a handful of times each semester. It has a lot of benches around that are never used, right, or very sparsely used. And there's actually some benches up on the north and the south side that are up 12 inches, so they're not accessible. So what this does is makes all the seating accessible. And for us, the success of most of our spaces are to provide you with variety, provide you with choices. So if you go to the ARC, for example, on the academic side of the building, there's lots of different options. You can sit by yourself, so you can sit 2, 4, 6, whatever. We've done the exact same thing with this. So it's all about variety and choice for you, and getting rid of the stuff that's not used at all right now.
John?
So how far along is this? Is this like what percentage is this at in terms of the project? The project development, is this like how final is this mock-up? And then if it isn't, when do you think that will be? And also, like, what do you expect if it isn't? What do you expect to change once it's like graded off?
The chancellor's goal, like I mentioned before, is for us to begin construction at the end of the spring semester. So right now, we're really tracking, and I'd say we're nearing the end of the design work that we're doing. This project has been put out for bid, contracts. We're nearing the end of our design work. However, with that being said, been on several engagements like this one, so hearing you all's feedback now is definitely something that there's room for. That answer your question?
Kind of, is this, my kind of last part of the question, like, is this like a design build sort of arrangement? Like, will there be any alteration once you hand it off to the contractor?
So, this will be a standard design bid build, so, it will be, to the contract documents, once we wrap up with it. So, unlike a design build, there's not a lot of room without significant costs that the design change, so we're looking to.
Yes, at the end of the table here.
About the flow of traffic. I know you mentioned earlier that right now the volume is and even like during winter time, like most of the snow that falls or like whatever is cleared out so that quad is still usable to get from one end of campus to another. But with the green space, how would that be implemented? Is that still going to be will that still be feasible for people to walking through? Like, what is the aspect of like flow of traffic going to look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thanks for asking it. We're part of the Vice Chancellor for Administrative Services organization. So we also work very closely with the Superintendent of Grounds, who's responsible for snow removal. She was an integral part of the whole design of this. And so she always thinks of snow, she thinks of summer because she takes care of the grass, and then her crew takes care of the snow in the winter. So there's a commitment from the Vice Chancellor and the Superintendent of Grounds to make sure that this area is completely plowed during the winter. And actually, the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs is a big proponent of this design. He wants to turn the center lawn area into an ice rink for a couple months each winter. So it becomes an amenity for students during some of those darkest, coldest days. So Rex Talbert is a big proponent of it. I just saw him today and he reinforced the idea.
But does that still mean, like, now that we have this big green space and does that still mean that there'll be more people walking around? I mean, or
So if you look at the design in the master plan, it was a perfect rectangle right in the middle. And what we did is we carved the sides of it, we chamfered them, to really respect the flow of students around that green space. And we actually went back to the original design for campus. And the original design for campus was designed for 30,000 students just on East Campus. And that one had a big rectangle right in the middle that you had to walk around. So what we're looking at is kind of, it had a tried and true design meant for a lot more students than we have currently on campus. And we think by chamfering it and keeping those paths 15 feet wide, which is the widest, that's the width of our widest sidewalk on campus. Expect that, so we'll have plenty of space for people to travel, even during the busiest times of traversing during the day.
Is it Alexandra? Yes.
I would love this idea. Like when I'm on campus, I'm trying to look for an outlet so that we're actually outside to study. So I'm curious if we would like to start this project at the end of spring. What are your strategies and plans for students that have classes in the summer or that have to just communicate or walk through the quad that they walk through for that?
So that you bring up a really good point. I mean, part of moving this forward at the end of the spring semester, we often collaborate and work with the scheduling office. So it would be a matter of identifying classes that really use of the lecture center buildings for the summer. So, not only to mitigate any circulation concerns when that turns into a significant construction site, but also just the noise concerns, just, with that being an active area. So that's how we would address that for the summer months and make sure it gets wrapped up, and especially the loud noise and everything else that will cause us.
And Melody?
So I have a question about the consistency of use throughout the school year regarding this space. So one is, I'm not very, up to date on this information, so I'm asking a question. But have you looked into, how economically feasible it will be to install ash structures instead, so that when it rains, that space may or may not still be, more usable, as well as, the fact, you brought up, in ice skating during the winter, how would that be accessible to maybe students with disabilities, or using a wheelchair, et cetera?
So I'll start with the first part. So we looked into an artificial surface for that. There's definite trade-offs, I think, in terms of the appearance, obviously, but in terms of the impression of utilization. And then there's significant price difference in terms of the artificial turf system. That actually also includes some ongoing maintenance concerns for the building. So that was something that we explored on a handful of fronts, successfully as well. But arrived at a solution based off of the part to address that as best we could with our maintenance of the lawn itself. In terms of the ice skating rink, that's something that is still being studied in terms of to what extent does that utilize that central lawn space, and some of the other kind of functional aspects of that. So your point about accessibility and how does that become a space for everyone on campus, right? It's definitely a question that we'll take into consideration.
Lavleen has questions on Zoom. Yeah.
So student trustee Levine asked, how much are we looking at as a price or total cost of the project?
So we're still pricing that out. So we're working with our consultant team on that. We don't have a final number at this time.
Sam, you have a question?
I like the reinforced turf idea, but I was wondering with that and the gravel part of the project, how flooding is taken into account in the design, and if that's going to be a problem, like if these spaces are going to be good for a day after rain.
So, a couple of details that I mentioned, at the lawn space, there will be a full design system for drainage that's underneath that. In fact, one of the changes to that space that happened most recently was a reduction of the slope, which there's a gentle slope in that area from what was previously an overall height difference of 18 inches to 6 inches. So that helps us out on several fronts in terms of really being able to get that water down out of the grass itself and not have any issues that are ahead.
Clarify, we showed an image of the response area with kind of gravel base, but it's not going to have gravel base, it's permeable papers. So there's permeable papers on the north side, we'll see permeable papers on the south side. We have the lawn, we have a lake. All those things make this space so much better in terms of stormwater retention, the resiliency of campus, and the resiliency of the city than the current situation with all hard surface.
Felix?
So I have a question about, I know you touched a little bit about accessibility for people who
gonna be sunken in a little bit from what I've seen in the pictures. How is it gonna be accessible for them to ensure their safety and to ensure that everything flows smoothly for them?
So, more details that are shown in this rendering, which is a high level visualization of it. Two things. So, for all of our walkable surfaces, they're continuous and they're free. So, in terms of anyone that has paint protection needs, that would be there. But a detail that's not represented as any of the thresholds of transition from essentially a hard or paved surface to a grass will have a warning strip, which gives that response for someone that is using it. So there'll be kind of those throughout the entire site.
Is it Lulu? So you mentioned the electrical outlets. How are those going to be implemented? And what was your team looking at in terms of like protecting it from like flooding and other harsh conditions? I'm really curious to see how it's supposed to work out.
Good question. So we've got some experience with working with outdoor outlets. Most recently, it was actually during the pandemic when we completed on West Campus, Arlington Mall. We have outdoor outlets in that space, and there's a few different ways that we can handle it. The way that we've done it previously is that there's a weather enclosed housing that allows you basically to lift the lid, if you will, to access the outlets. But the outlets themselves are by code all rated with what they call a GFCI, rated outlet. In the event that there, is water that compromises that circuit, it shuts itself off automatically with the breaker, so that it avoids damaging any of the products and some rare occasion causing harm to the individual. I'll note that the design criteria for this space is that we don't have flooding. So that's the first goal, but there's definitely that additional line of protection for the electrical elements.
Has the possibility of sunfall over the space been thought of, especially during the summer months when it's quite hot out?
We're really interested in doing some type of covering to the best of our ability to increase shade. It was something that for this initial endeavor proved to be both in terms of finding a product that would kind of meet our requirements for maintenance over time was cost prohibitive. But I will say the infrastructure is somewhat there in place. We've got pole light fixtures and other vertical elements that will be there in the site that offer an opportunity for some shading devices to be added in the future. But otherwise, we tackle shading through the vegetation that's being in the trees.
Yeah, it's often the way we approach spaces, especially outdoor spaces, we try to identify different activities in different zones. So the center zone is kind of your sun active zone, and those areas to the north and south are meant to be your shaded zone. So same way we approached the former ComEd site up on the North Quad, where we have basically these green open space, and then we have seeding and the trees along the edges. So it's kind of intentional, but it's activity-based planning.
I had a question as well. In terms of furniture, I saw that a lot of it was permanent pictures. Are you guys planning on having a room furniture that students get access for different types of collaborative events on campus?
So, there's two things that we need to balance in this space. Both sure everybody's familiar, but at the Lecture Center B as well as Lecture Center E, we've got entrances to the elevators that access the lower levels of those lecture halls, and movable furniture presented an issue for potentially blocking accessible walkways. So we eliminated the movable furniture in this project for that reason. One of the ways that we supplemented that elsewhere on the campus through the Adirondack lectures. So there's maybe the potential for that, but it's something that we would have to study further to see how that impacts some of the activity that we wanted this space to be able to support.
And I would just add that for any scheduled activities, anything that's programmed, student involvement there, if there's a performance out there by architecture, design, and arts. The meetings and conferences, the folks that set up your tables and chairs here have told us that they will bring whatever is needed out there. We coordinated this design with those folks to make sure it works for all the planned events, as well as with our grounds folks to make sure it works for maintenance and for
I have a question regarding the pole light fixtures that you spoke about. So where would these be located relative to the seating? And also, like, have you guys considered any plans to make these like solar powered?
So I'll start here in the earlier document. So there'll be light fixtures, I think, at the base level of the conversation about lighting. We have lighting minimums to ensure safety, in the campus. So there'll be, even lighting that's dispersed throughout this entire site. But in particular, we located some of the pole light fixtures similar to, say, analogous to some of the locations that currently exist. Some of the banner opportunities that are currently there are things that we've heard, should be maintained. So, in particular, you can see some of the kind of white dots here, they're not very strong, but flanking around that lawn space in the center, as well as so you can see kind of some of the shadow marks that are areas. But then there's also, throughout the site, kind of like I mentioned, provide uniform lighting. So they're throughout the site and some strategic locations for supporting banners.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to limit questions for USG to 3 more minutes, and then any outside guests will have 5 minutes for them to ask questions.
So you touched upon how there have been some concerns about the design. Where do those concerns come from? Was it like current concerns or years prior? And then I will follow up after that.
So I would say that they were consistent concerns from years prior and kind of this. In addition to pedestrian circulation throughout the space, we have service vehicles and emergency vehicles that we have to traverse this zone. So those concerns about making sure that the changes happening to the circulation would still provide adequate means for what's actually taking place have been kind of consistent, and it underscores all the this one that just a significant work to study and ensure that.
So you were saying about affirming that. So from what it seems, there hasn't been so much affirming going on since there's many organizations who still see the same concerns to this day. There are a group of organizations like all the cultural centers, and then there's a graduate student government. They all see the same concerns about how it's not accessible. So it's not accessible, that it limits cultural expression and diversity expression, partly because the space that we currently have, anyone can go there. It's been used historically for memorials, it's been used for protests, for activism, and then putting a green space kind of limits the amount of people who can attend those spaces, especially due to weather. So people who are in wheelchairs are less likely to be going in that green space. I see that there's a stage on there in the plans that limits the amount of people who can be on there. So, and then the question about sustainability is still there. So how are you going to communicate that with the rest of the student body to ensure that everyone's concerns have been met and listened to? Because it seems like to them that they haven't been. And then just for reference, I'm the chairman of Campus Life. So I've received many emails, have had many meetings with different organizations expressing their concerns about these plans and how they feel like they haven't been met with any type of resolution, and a comment being made saying that it's already been approved by the Board of Trustees, there's not much to do.
Yeah, sorry that people have felt that way and expressed that to you. So I should tell you that accessibility has been part of every single one of our projects, and part of our design. And you mentioned that the project is not accessible, but that's simply not true. Grass, when it has a hard underlaying surface and it has a tight cut, meets the ADA guidelines. And that's been for the last 20 years. It's a great long. Every one of those seating areas that's in the project, accessible for anyone in a wheelchair. The only time that the space will not be easily used by someone in a wheelchair is after a heavy rain. That's not easily used by any of you either after a heavy rain, right? So the main goal of the project is to bring people there on a daily basis and not make it a fast space. And the way that other campuses have successfully done that is by making it green space, making it a grassy space. So it's like becomes the magnet to bring people in. So in the fact that, and we have a disagreement, myself and some of the cultural center directors, they talk about that we can't have protests in grass. I mean, some of our best protests in the country happen on the National Mall in DC. They happen in Grant Park in Chicago. They happen in campus quads all over the nation on grass. So grass is amply used for impromptu events, for impromptu protests. It's really a very versatile space that can be used for anything the students really want. Sustainability of the project, you read a quote from the director of sustainability. The space will be better than it is now by far in terms of all we're hitting 4 of the 5 climate action implementation goals for this project. So there's been a lot of iterations of this design, and it keeps getting refined as we hear comments. It hasn't been set in stone as a single design. It's constantly iterated to what you see now. And we feel like we've hit accessibility, sustainability, impromptu uses, protests. I mean, we really feel like we've hit on everything, and we've made those modifications to do it. So it's just could say maybe people are just stuck in one way of looking at it, and they're not willing to look at all the things that we have addressed.
And then one final thing, how would you make sure that this information is available for the student body so they can understand this fully? Because prior to this, we have no information. So of course, this meeting was very helpful, understanding the accessibility, the sustainability, the activism. So how will you ensure all the students here at USC will be able to have that information available in an easy and understandable way?
Good question. Let us talk to the chancellor's office and figure out a good way to get this out to the student body. We'll work with Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Rex Caliber, and put it out there. We'll figure out a means to do that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sorry, I do have to clarify this question for USG related members. If there are any outside guests that we have that did come to for our guest speakers, either on Zoom or in person, I will open the floor for you now. Anyone on Zoom? All right, I will allow one more question then.
Sorry. Can I go?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just wondering, you keep mentioning sustainability, but I'm not sure like what exactly makes grass sustainable. Like just the fact that there is grass, or like is there other things that will be done to make sure that it is environmentally like good to have grass on campus for no reason, more grass?
Yeah, I can start a response for that. I mean, I think the key thing for this is to the context that the grass is in replacement of the greater hardscape. So in terms of our stormwater goals, the grass is far improvement upon our current hardscape that's there in terms of preventing runoff from going back into the city's sewer system.
I have another question. There was a survey done in 2015, right, about this project. Will there be another one done for students now? Because that was a long time ago.
No, I mean, the plans for the engagement are meetings like this. We have other meetings, focus groups with students. For the surveys, sometimes those get used in the very beginning to gather ideas about concepts about what's missing, what's lacking in space. So we just use that as an informational touch point, but we don't typically take designs in during the process and then put those back out for surveys, because surveys are, they're challenging to talk about subtleties of design. They're better to talk about big ideas, big concepts.
Great, thank you. Is there one last question from the out? Let's make sure there's outside, no outside members first. Okay, one last question from the USG. Dan.
Awesome. You mentioned, I'm gonna follow up with the last question, that this project touches on all of the sustainable goals that USC has planned. Could you speak on how it, in each one, I mean, there are 4 or 5, could you speak on how it touches on all of them, especially the net zero water campus?
The net zero water campus is where it makes the biggest impact. Stormwater's part of that. That's where by taking out the solid food surface and making it lawn in the middle, by putting permeable pavers on the north and south side, by introducing a rain garden, by introducing additional trees, all those have a significant impact on net zero water goal in terms of the resiliency of the campus and the resiliency of the city. So the other goals, in terms of biodiverse, that's in the rain garden with the plantings, the native plantings there that actually help with pollinators in the campus USA. Carbon neutral, that we hit with the LED lighting, LED lighting, reducing our carbon footprint. And then the zero waste is that we're taking over 75% of the construction waste and recycling that as part of the project.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there an email or anything that students can maybe reach out to you, or how should students proceed if they have more questions regarding this project?
Sure, I'm happy to help you out.
Okay.
It's JRN,
Thank you. I'll email that to you guys after the meeting. And thank you so much for coming. You're welcome to stay, but also you are welcome to leave if you want. Thank you so much.
Lots of great comments and feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next guest speaker is Kara Holloway, Director of Scholarships. Thank you so much for being patient through this, and whenever you're ready, you can come up to the podium.
Fantastic. Good evening, Madam President and USG. It is my delight to spend time with you. As you've just heard, my name is Kara Holloway, and it is my pleasure to serve UIC Student Affairs in the Office of Student Financial Aid and Scholarships as your Director of Scholarships. And I'm excited to be with you tonight because this is a great time to start thinking about funding support for the 2022-23 academic year. Yes, I know that this academic year has nearly just begun, but it is time to start thinking about next academic year for your funding support. And on behalf of my financial aid colleagues, I'd like to start with just a little bit about financial aid. For those of you who are on Zoom, I'm going to put some things in the chat. And for those of you who are not, I have shared with Matthew, who invited me to join you tonight, with a highlight sheet, and I will put that whole sheet on the Zoom as well. So the first thing, just starting with financial aid, now is the season to complete that FAFSA or the alternative application for Illinois financial aid if you are not able to complete a FAFSA and you happen to identify as either non-binary or a undocumented student, and you are of the great state of Illinois, you can do that alternative application. My friends, please note that you should only complete one or the other. Completing both does cause complications and delays. Best practice is, if you are eligible to complete and submit a FAFSA, to do that form, because that's where you can get the maximum aid, since it also covers federal aid. And why do we complete the FAFSA and the alternative application to begin with? Well, because that's how you are able to determine if you're eligible for financial aid in the form of grants, and that could be federal grants, state grants, or campus-related grants, and or loans that are supported by the federal government. Again, you need to complete one or the other of those forms each academic year that you plan to be at university, and the applications for both become available October 1st annually. So they're open now. If you have not had a chance to look at those and submit them, as soon as you're able, please do. And the reason why we emphasize doing it as soon as you can is because there are times where grant funding runs out, and certainly those that get those applications submitted and completed first get the highest consideration. So I do have in the Zoom chat now the site for FAFSA, and for those of you who are in person, that website is studentaid.gov. That's all you need to know to get there. I am adding in the Zoom right now the site for the alternative application for Illinois financial aid, and that site is isac.org. Again, that's isac.org. So again, please do determine which of those two applications will be for your best benefit and do complete it as soon as you can. And note that as of 2020, both of those applications are good with just about all of your electronic devices. So whether you are on a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone, you are able to access and complete those applications. Now let's talk a little bit about scholarships, our best friends, because unlike loans, we don't need to pay those back. And for campus-related scholarships at UIC, hopefully a lot of you are already familiar with the UIC SNAP portal. There are multiple ways to access that portal, and I'm going to add into the chat for those on Zoom one of the ways right now. And for those of you in the room, you can put into your smartphone or tablet if you'd like to right now, snap.uic.edu or uic.academicworks.com. Both will lead you to a login page where you will put in your UIC credentials. Credentials meaning, of course, your net ID and accompanying password. Once you're in the portal, I'd like for you to complete what we call a general application. My friends, it is not going to take a lot of your time to do that. In fact, I've worked with students completing that general application on the blue line between the Halsted stop and the Jackson stop, and they had it complete. The first three questions are really your UIN, your first name, and your last name. The next three are related to permissions of us utilizing your or accessing your information within the portal. And then there are some optional questions, if you will. that can take a little bit more time because one is asking for you to bullet out your student engagement on campus or in the community. And again, my friends, it is just a bulleted list. You do not need to write an essay or paragraphs for that, but that may take a little bit more time if you don't have that saved in a particular space. So again, it takes about 10 minutes to complete that general application. Now, for all those questions that don't have the asterisk, meaning that they're required, and they're the optional ones, I do suggest that if you are comfortable answering those questions, please do. And this is why. One of the functionalities of the SNAP system is that there are applications within the portal that we call auto match applications. An auto match application essentially is looking for data that could be collected from your submitted general application. And that means that you don't have to come back to the portal to apply for those auto match situations. Basically, if your general application happens to, you got it, match the questions and the data that's required for an auto match situation, then your general application will be submitted into the pool for review and consideration for that opportunity. So the more you answer, the more things that your application will likely match to. Now, of course, in the SNAP portal, for those of you that are juniors and seniors, you already know, there are what we call apply to applications. So those are the situations where a college, a department, a special area are looking for some additional information beyond what we've already captured on that general application that you submitted. It could be an essay. It could be a couple of questions, maybe a request for a recommendation. And you'll need to put in the information related to the person who will provide that reference for you. Again, we utilize the portal simply trying to streamline the scholarship process for you. We know that you're in study groups, you're in classes, you're in labs, you're helping family and friends, and you have student employment as well. So we are trying to streamline it as much as possible for you. And that's actually why we have the SNAP portal, to try to centralize scholarships as much as possible on campus as well. Right now, I'd like to tell you, and hopefully those of you in these two colleges are aware, if you are in the College of Business Administration or in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the applications provided by your colleges are actually available in the SNAP portal now. For LAS students, the deadline is December 1st. And for business students, the deadline is in January of 2022. But again, when you have free time between your classes and your studying, go ahead and complete those applications now. We know that oftentimes in rushing, you could have personal technology challenges, and we don't want anyone to miss the deadline. And we also want your applications to get the highest consideration. So we want you to be able to avoid errors and look at things and go back and change them should you need to. Now, beyond campus opportunities, we of course have external scholarship opportunities as well. And you're probably familiar with sites such as scholarships.com or fastweb.com or even iega.org for those of you that are looking for study abroad. And what I really recommend as a best practice before you start conducting that external scholarship search, and I do recommend that you conduct one, think about the things that you have excelled in, the things that you are engaged with. So those of you that are involved with student government, volunteerism, those are categories. Just think of those things. One word, short phrases, do a bulleted list for yourself, text yourself, and then consider those areas, categories to conduct your search upon. So if you're a gamer, guess what? There are scholarships out there that are legitimate for gamers. If you are into gardening since the pandemic, guess what? There are scholarships for that. There are scholarships for just about every topic that you can think of. The other thing to do that can be very helpful, check with your professors, your advisors, your mentors, family members, any stakeholder in your life who may be engaged in professional organizations, community organizations, volunteer foundations. Oftentimes, those entities have scholarship opportunities for which you might be eligible. And sometimes the people that we know that are engaged with those agencies are not aware of the scholarship. It happens all the time that an area has recently become philanthropic, and the newer people who are receiving orientation are told about the scholarship opportunities, and those that have been engaged a little bit longer may not be aware. So it doesn't hurt to ask. And when we're talking about entities and agencies, I am talking about things, it could be a neighborhood club, it could be a house of worship, a cultural society, sorority and fraternities, particularly on, the regional, national, and international levels. It could be even business franchises. So there are lots of opportunities, and it's a matter of allocating time to conduct a search and, really think about, again, where you as a student might stand out so that you can submit a highly competitive application. And so that's really the highlights I'd like to share today. Again, I am going to put a highlight sheet in the Zoom chat for those that are on Zoom. Matthew does have a copy of the PDF as well, so that can be distributed if there's a listserv or officers would like to have a copy of that. And at this time, I can pause, and if there are any questions, Madam Chairman, I am happy to entertain those.
And I am the Speaker of the House. But are there any questions?
Mahanur has a question.
Okay, yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. So I understand that UIC is a university where people of different socioeconomic statuses come to receive an education, and I do acknowledge the necessity of having need-based scholarships. However, I was wondering, are there any action steps that we could take to have more merit-based scholarships that are need-blind to help those who do not qualify for federal aid?
Sure. So I'm going to answer your question to the best of my ability. First, just acknowledging that we do have merit-based scholarships at UIC, and each area that is utilizing the SNAP portal does have merit-based scholarships. So at UIC, full disclosure, there are scholarships that are need-based, there are scholarships that are merit-based, and there are some scholarships that are a combination of both. Oftentimes what happens is that a donor might have a very specific criteria that they set when a scholarship fund is established. So I should mention that each area, each college, each department, each area that has scholarship opportunities does have what we call a fund agreement related to each of the scholarship opportunities that they're able to offer. And that essentially is a governing document that lets us know how the scholarship is to be awarded. And so that is a driving force behind the classification of a scholarship.
Yeah. Sorry about that short echo, but there's a question in the chat. Are there upcoming scholarships we should be looking out for?
Okay, so again, highly recommend that if you're talking about campus-related scholarships, that you go ahead and complete and submit that general application now. Another thing that the portal will do is send an alert, i.e. an old school email to you as scholarship opportunities open in the portal. Right now, the scholarships that are available are associated with the College of Global Arts and Sciences and the College of Business Administration. And again, these are applications that will determine funding support for the next academic year. For our current academic year of 21-22, all funding that is campus related has been allocated.
Thank you. Are there any final questions? Okay, thank you so much for coming. Is there a way that students can reach you if they have any more questions?
Absolutely. I am located within the Student Financial Aid and Scholarships Office, which is located that first floor of the Student Services Building at 1200 West Harrison, the intersection of Harrison and Racine. And the best way to reach me other than stopping by would be scholarshiphelp@uic.edu. Again, that's scholarshiphelp@uic.edu. I want to thank you, Abigail, for putting that in the chat. And also for those of you that already have the document of highlights through Zoom, that information is also on the document.
For members.
And again, thank you, Matthew, for the invitation and USG for allowing me to join you this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our next order of business is item 4. Sorry. Oh. where is this? Okay, thank you.
Ms.
Next
Holly, that's
item
just
of
welcome to
business
stay
is
or
old
welcome to
business.
Yes.
And we have no old business today, so we'll move on to our next item of business, which is new business, and there's no new business today. And therefore, our next item for discussion is Title IX. Matthew, would you like to bring this up?
Yes. Oh, great.
Just use mine.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up Title IX as an item of discussion. Let me just say that last year we worked somewhat on Title IX to reduce its processes and such. Although seems like we're still far away of ensuring that the process of Title IX is to be reduced. The reason why I brought this up as an item of discussion is because I believe Student Trustee Levine would like to form a committee within USG that focuses on Title IX, or at least include it as a branch under the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Perhaps if Student Trustee Levine could comment on this more. If not, I did talk to Levine a little bit about this. He believes it is important to have within our student government. He mentioned that other student governments have Title IX committees. We do not, so I think it'll be important maybe to include this as a strong initiative or branch within our student government. And I just want to hear perhaps any feedback from you guys in the House, or perhaps anyone in the Diversity Inclusion Committee as well. Thank you.
Yeah, are there any questions for Matthew or in general about what Title IX is? Yes.
As a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, would this like be one recommendation, or would it be like a subcommittee?
Do you want to answer that? Yes. Oh, sorry.
So far, we have not, it would not be part of our committee, and it would not be a subcommittee. I believe the idea would be to create an ad hoc committee, which would be a separate committee. However, if it's an interest of the members, we could also have it as No, actually, I would like to be at ad hoc committee, so other members from other committees could also join.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand, I guess, the comment, but I Googled it, and what would be the message, like, of the committee, like.
Yeah, so I believe maybe drawing inspiration from other student governments, this committee will work closely with the Title IX department. There is a specific department dedicated to Title IX, I believe, and this will work with the department and also with students to create feedback for the department, such as the very big aspect we would like to do is shorten any processes that the Title IX might have. Yep. Yes.
Over here.
Oh, sorry.
Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Wait, sorry. Over here in the black shirt. Is there a reason you're creating a subcommittee for Article 9, or is it, was there any way to the basis of key value of your order?
Yeah, the reason to create this committee is based on student trustees report. He met with several people, I believe, regarding Title IX related issues. And yeah, I think he would like to see us maybe focus a little bit on Title IX resources. I think that's something also he is working on himself as the student trustee. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
And then Megan, did you have a question?
I just think that maybe a lot of the confusion surrounding why this committee like to exist, right? Because some folks don't know what's happening. So we're going to someone that last year we had such a big conversation around Title IX.
Yeah, I can only speak on what I remember in meeting with those who led the Title IX initiatives last year. Firstly, is there anyone that here that's still that worked on the Title IX initiative last year?
I worked on it with Bayan all last year. So yeah, I think this would be a really good idea.
Thank you, Sarah. And perhaps maybe you can explain more.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you guys were doing.
Yeah, so basically we're trying to find a way to make a lot of the organizations on campus, like the fraternities and sororities, aware of what's written in Title IX. And so that included like making it we're trying to make it mandatory for every single organization on campus to attend a Title IX workshop type of thing, where they had to sit there and they had to learn about Title IX and the consequences of it. And we were also trying to make the process easier for victims because we talked to a victim last year whose case basically took a full 2 years when she was promised it would take 60 days. And so we're basically trying to make it mandatory for our school's Title IX coordinators to get cases finished in less than 30 days because their time constraint that they were giving their victims was not matching up to what they were doing. So yeah, that's kind of what we were trying to work on in the past year. And we also wanted to hire a justice coordinator because Brown University also had one. And that'd be someone who would only work with the victims and their cases, and it would be fully confidential, which wasn't the case with a lot of the Title IX coordinators in the offices. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I was just going to ask a follow-up to Sarah, because I mean, we were on the diversity inclusion last semester, and whatever happened to that? Like, why did the initiative stop? What halted it? Because I know that it was still ongoing, but
So what basically happened was, I know, I feel like if Bayan were still here, she'd probably be better able to answer this question, but we just feel like we weren't getting a lot of support from certain people. And so it kind of fell through because people weren't communicating with us properly. People didn't want to coordinate with us properly. And so that's kind of why it fell through. So that's why I think Matthew's idea of having a separate committee fully committed to Title IX would make it a lot more serious and people would listen to us more than just having it a part of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So yeah, that's kind of what happened. It basically just fell through because people were not taking us seriously and we weren't getting the responses that we needed from people.
Follow up on that, because we just, well, this is just a suggestion, can we recapture the initiative and kind of make that a startup for that?
Yeah,
I just,
so let me just say this is completely up to our president to see if he wants to create an ad hoc committee or add this on to diversity inclusion, but also it's up to you guys to see how we can also go about this. I'm just reading some notes I took when I met with the representatives who worked on this last year. Some things, yeah, we were trying to we worked on a proposal for a deputy Title IX coordinator, also holding the OAE and the Title IX office accountable by requiring them to release regular reports on like how they operate. So yeah, I think by vitalizing a new committee or making this initiative, we can definitely get back on track on continuing this from last year. I can help on that a little bit, and I believe student trustee Levine, this is part of his dedication to safety here on campus.
so my question, how many people are you looking to help you out?
I cannot say again, if we do create an ad hoc committee, it's up to our president to delegate how many people will be on this committee and such.
Anshu? Yes, so for the ad hoc committee, I'm completely open to the ad hoc committee. I think it's a great initiative that a lot of you guys could have a large part in. In terms of who would chair that committee, I would recommend the deputy chair for diversity, just so that it can work well with Danielle's committee or any other deputy chair that really wants to work on this initiative. In terms of the makeup of the committee and how many members it would be, I wouldn't put a cap on it. Obviously, if any member is passionate about this, I would stop them from being a part of this ad hoc committee because of the cap. I would hope that there would be at least 4 members plus on this ad hoc committee so it could be effective as possible. But I don't see there being a cap. It would be 40 years old, so it's not open to all students.
Thank you. Just as a note, what happened with Title IX last year is in our annual report from last year. There's great detail and information regarding what happened and like success stories and also just kind of where it left off. So I recommend looking at that as if we do an ad hoc committee as you guys move forward with that. Are there any more questions?
Yes. Okay. So my question was who would lead it, but I agree with answer that it would be interesting and it would be a really good idea to have either deputy chair of diversity and inclusion or any other deputy chair to lead it. For reference, a deputy chair is just kind of like the right hand of your committee chairs. For my own committee, I'm gonna be creating an application, and I believe all committee chairs will be doing the same. We basically create an application for you to fill in, and then we choose one person, which is just there to help us out. I think this is a great idea. I would also say that we should put a little bit of a hold on it because some of our committees, for example, I have not yet been able to meet with my committee, so I do not know if my committee, my members in their initiatives or if their priorities is Title IX, because I do believe that although it is diversity and inclusion, it also covers a lot of other committees too. So I have personally not met with my committee yet because we haven't been able to find a time yet. So I do not know if any of them are really passionate about this topic or if they would like to allocate their time this semester or this year to other initiatives equally as important. So I do believe that it's a great idea. I would just put a little bit of a hold, maybe 2 weeks. And then we could definitely see which deputy chair is more passionate about this or is more interested in leading it. And then we could definitely recruit members to it.
Great, thank you. Are there any more questions? Yes.
So I kind of curious if this is like, because I know that Megan kind of brought up and steered the conversation towards what we worked on last year, but is that, like, to clarify, is that what student trustee Lavleen was proposing? Because when you first mentioned it, it just basically sounded like he was proposing something they working on Title IX. And so is like, just to clarify, like where we steered the conversation, is that what Lavleen was referring to, or because I'm still kind of confused on all this?
Yeah, so when Levine, I believe when he proposed this the idea of a new committee or subcommittee, he was unaware of our initiatives of Title IX of last year. But you know what, I am hopefully meeting with him tomorrow. If you have any further questions for student trustee Levine himself, please feel free to email me those questions. I'll bring that up to him if I meet with him tomorrow. Yeah.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Beyond undergraduate, so with Brown is doing it with graduates and with extra background. Maybe in the future we could kind of
Yes, so yeah, I definitely think there is obviously ways to involve the graduate student council. As you know, the student trustee is the ex officio officer of the graduate student council. I'm sure he's going to meet with them and talk with them about this. He just would like to see the undergraduate students work on this, and I'll ask him about his exact game plan in terms of this. Yeah, and I agree. Anything that comes out from this from us, we'll be able to work with whatever student organization is working on this as well. And
So in terms of working with other organizations on campus, that would be an ad hoc committee. Ad hoc committees are only internal to student government. You can reach out to other clubs and create task forces, which would be interdisciplinary and different organizations on campus. We are creating a mental health task force working with other departments and a safety task force working with various departments as well. And so that is a route we can take, but that would take a lot more outreach and a lot more heavy lifting on our end. And so if that is something that you guys are interested in, that could be worked on internally through the ad hoc committee, and then you guys could reach out to create that task force. But like Daniela said, since we're kind of just talking about this right now, it might be better to make sure that we find people that are passionate about it before we move forward with that.
I'll allow 2 more minutes for discussion. Are there any more questions? Any on Zoom? Matthew, any final words?
yeah, I guess yeah, I'll share everything that was discussed in this conversation with Levine, and then maybe next meeting I can he'll report back on what he shared. Maybe he'll come, maybe he'll report in his report. But yeah, I will definitely follow up on this with him. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Our next order of business is ex officio reports. Do we have a report of the advisor? Thank you. Is there a report from student trustee?
Yes, I'll be reading his report. I'll read it word by word because he wrote as a letter. Howdy all. Hope you are all doing great. I want to welcome all new reps and wish them the best for this great year ahead of them. A couple things I would like to share with y'all. Student trustee liaison position. I'm working closely with the Office of the Dean of Students to create this position where there will be 2 liaisons under the Office of the Student Trustee. 2 are just an expectation and it can just be 1. Liaison will connect the student trustee to the 4 student bodies of UIC: graduate student body, undergraduate student government, health professionals association, and the student bar association. Anyone in this position, please email me at lmal2@uic.edu. I'll put that in the chat, or can shoot me a text over GroupMe. Content should be why you want to be a liaison and what you seek out of this role. The role will be up after approval of the Dean of Students. 2, I have some exciting news to share with you all as well. UIC is ranked 25 best schools in the nation. The UIC vaccination rate of students is above 95% and 92% for the faculty and staff. I'm also getting several emails from the deans / associate deans of distinguished departments on how next quarter of 2021 will be less strict on seating plans. The plans are set to merge online classes into in-person on campus. 3rd, First Lady Dr. Jill Biden will be at the National Museum of Mexican Art tomorrow afternoon. If I get done with my classes, if possible, I'll try to join Congressman Jesus Garcia, who will be welcoming the First Lady. If someone is interested in joining me, please let me know in the soonest. Finally, I urge President and Vice President to form an additional USG committee, Title IX Awareness Committee, and appoint a chair as soon as they can, or merge this committee into diversity and inclusion. It will serve the purpose of promoting awareness of the Title IX related issues and policies with the intent of sexual misconduct prevention. I have a strong faith in Chairperson Danielle that she'll do a great job handling this responsibility as well. Please seek directions from Associate Dean of Students and plan to form the committee as soon as you can. Y'all may be wondering, why is it important? Title IX related issues are extremely relevant to students in institutions of higher education, given the fact that more than 1 in 10 college students experience rape or sexual assault before graduation. It is the responsibility of student representatives to contribute to the awareness and prevention of sexual misconduct at the University of Illinois at Chicago. So a standing committee of the USG shall be formed as of what we stand for. Thank you all. And again, if you need anything, please reach out. And that concludes Student Trustee Levine's report.
Great, thank you. If anyone has any questions, please direct them to student trustee Lee. And with that, the report of the student trustee has been filed. Next order of business is officer reports. May we please have the report of the president.
Everyone, hope you guys are doing well. So last week I met with the Executive Director of Financial Services, Daniel Williams, and we discussed the business closures and safety, as he is in touch with all of the tenants that are on Maxwell, and he has kind of updated us on that conversation. He's also chair of the campus dining RFP process. Like I mentioned last week, everything except for Moe's and Duncan will be under review, and so just keep that in mind as I'm graduating. This may affect future UIC students. The dining hall contracts and all of the independent restaurants are under review, and so many of those may change. And so I have appointed Felix to be our representation, as he will be here past my graduation. And so any advice or kind of concerns you have regarding that, please feel free to reach out to Felix. I met with Provost Javier Reyes, and we discussed the textbook affordability and open educational resources. And he was very receptive to those ideas that we had and expanding the Innovation Center to new majors. I attended the Treasury Committee meeting. I hope to attend more committee meetings as the weeks go on. This morning, I met with the Director for Academic Center of Excellence. We learned more about peer success coaching, kind of the process behind that, which will help us implement our own peer success Green Banana project that's going to focus on mental health. And so they were very receptive to our idea of having students who train taking knowledgeable on-campus resources regarding the mental health as they're currently scattered and such as are. So thank you guys for that leader. And then thank you to everyone who came to the new member orientation. It was really great to see all of you there. I saw a lot of you guys were engaged, and so I'm glad it was a success. And I will also be inviting more guest speakers to USG meetings. I urge you all to invite more administrative leadership to our meetings. And as you can tell today, it was very beneficial. We learned a lot, and we can ask very important questions that only administrative leaders kind of have insight on. And so I'll be urging our executive board to invite more administrative leaders, and feel free to invite here all of the kind of leaders you would want to see on our meetings. And so I yield the rest of my time for questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, if not, the report of the president has been filed. May I please have the report of the vice president?
All right. All right. Okay. So yes, of course, first off, my quote. You could leave a life right now that determine what you do and say and think. Doesn't mean to live your life like, or live your days like it's your last day, but I find it to be quite humbling quote, and just a reminder to, really pay attention to what exactly you are using your time for. On to the report. So I scheduled a meeting with the Dean of Library, with Director Matthew, Ray Ballard Droller on 29th. I planned on discussing exactly what happened with the charging lockers that USG purchased from last semester and how the library is currently functioning. Plan on having a discussion about that and about any sort of future plans that they have as it relates to the pandemic and COVID regulations. I scheduled a meeting with Rex Tolliver, which will be happening the 25th. I'll be sure to bring up our discussion that we had today with him about the fall design. And also we'll be seeing if I could invite him as a guest speaker to USG as well. Had a meeting with the provost Friday, which was pretty swell. He was very receptive to a lot of our ideas. We had a great conversation, despite only lasting 30 minutes, but we learned a lot, and how he has a lot of ideas about bringing more entrepreneurial opportunities to the Innovation Center and just creating more entrepreneurial related gen ed classes. He's also going to be a guest speaker, and I received confirmation that from today that he will be a guest speaker on November 8th during one of our assembly meetings, so that will be nice. Scheduled, like Anshu said, scheduled a meeting with Director Elizabeth of ACE, plus the peer success coordinator Jennifer Zavala was also there. We had a discussion about their services, and we also plan on inviting her as a guest speaker to talk about peer success coaches and how we can better make them more accessible to students. Laying down foundations for a mental health task force, currently working to get senior staff members of the counseling center to join it. And also from the EF department and the other related department that's very much interested in it. And I have also going to be talking about it with Indiana on a future date. And of course, I attend orientation with everybody here. So, but besides that, I leave the floor to questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, if not, the report of the vice president has been filed. Next, we have the report of the treasurer.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So starting this week, I will also have quotes to share with you all. This week, my quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who states, "Make the most of yourself, for that is all there is of you." In my opinion, those are very wise words. So this past week was a very productive one for me and the Treasury Committee. We had our first committee meeting with President Onshu in attendance. I've also made the deputy chair application and role preference forms, and they're due by October 15th at midnight. Our next meeting will be with student organizations that have requested funding. It will take place on Thursday in a hybrid setting. I also had the opportunity to attend the USG Social this past Friday. Thank you everyone who came for an amazing event. I am also working with Vice President Arthur Kosowski on possible collaboration with the USC Police. From the item of discussion from a few weeks ago, I'm still gathering data about our printing to see if a rental is reasonable. I will also be working with UIC to investigate a recent email incident within USG. Just a word of advice for everybody, if you suspect an email or message may not be authentic, please don't click on any links and reach out to the designated person through a different channel to ensure whether they actually sent the message or email. Also, we'll be collaborating with the DOS office to approve 2 new vendors for the future projects. This process should be expected to take a few weeks to go through. And finally, I'll be beginning my responsibilities as the official representative of USG to the USC Senate's Future of Instruction Task Force. For those who were not here last year, this task force was created to review the benefits of pandemic-era teaching strategies and recommend that certain statutes stay in place permanently moving forward, such as the availability of online classes. My role will be to give input and advocate on behalf of USG and our undergraduate student body. That is the end of my report. I'm open for any questions.
Questions? Okay, not the report of the treasurer has been filed. Next, we have the report of the speaker. Thank you guys for such a wonderful week. The orientation was so fun. I started my meetings with interim speaker Michelle, and she will be chairing our next meeting. So e-board members, please send in your reports on time. I'm going to send multiple reminders and there will be no extension. I worked on new member orientation presentation, and we of course had the orientation Thursday. I'm loving the level of engagement from you guys, so definitely keep it up. I worked with Muhammad and Anshu on the winter social a little bit, and hopefully we can get this approved and confirmed soon, so Michelle and I can actually start planning this more. Had a great time at the eBoard social on Friday. Thank you, Danny and Danya, and everyone else that brought food. And then we will be organizing a volunteering event during Thanksgiving break. And this will of course be an opportunity to get points and help others, most importantly. But we will plan this event for all students, non-USG, USG and non-USG, and family and friends. It's Thanksgiving. We hope that you guys come out with your family and friends if you are in town and come volunteer. If you would like to join in coordinating and planning this, please contact Michelle, and then we'll work together once we actually have an idea of what we want to do. And with that, I open my time for questions. Are there any questions? Great. If not, the report of the speaker has been filed. Next, we have the report of the chief of staff.
All right, so to start out, I would just like to thank everybody for coming to both the executive board social and for the new member orientation. I saw that you guys were very engaged, and I'd love to see that same energy continue throughout the meetings. So we met with Provost Reyes and discussed OER and the Z degree program, which Z degree being the zero cost of textbooks throughout your degree. And Matthew created a proposal for that I would encourage all of you to read. It's in the packet. And we also discussed the safety task force, which he was interested in working on. And we also discussed the Innovation Center and how, not only what he plans to do regarding it, but what USG can do. And previously, when we met with the director of the Innovation Center, we talked about having USG help to develop outreach plans and have people of more majors other than LAS and College of Business be involved. And so we want to start getting that rolling. And so if you have any ideas or if that sounds interesting to you, please let me know. And we also heard about how Provost Reyes is very interested in collaborating in many different ways. And so that's something to not only he's coming to a GBM, but also think of other ways that we could engage his office in future events. Met with Daniel Williams, Executive Director of Finances and Administrative Services.
he was very passionate about the safety task force and was very open to the idea. And we learned that he has quite an insight regarding collaboration with the businesses that are on South Campus, such as Bar Louie, Steak and Shake, and obviously gyms. And we discussed the effect of crime on students and local businesses. And he's very interested in getting the ball rolling on that. We also discussed solutions and the dining and restaurant contracts that Anshu touched on. Recently, I've been working to update the website with Matt Salvaraj, create the org chart, and been working with Abigail and Darian on brand kit, and have provided feedback for the guides. So committee chairs, when you get a chance, if you could continue updating that, as that is binding, and I yield my time for questions.
Okay, we are running out of time, so if you have any questions, please email John. And with that, the report of the chief of staff has been filed. Next, we have the report of the diversity and inclusion committee chair.
Thank you so much. I'll try to go as quickly as possible. First, I attended the orientation. I am glad so many of you could attend and that you are now ready to write resolutions. Shout out to Kayla for leading the orientation. I attended the executive board get together, and I'm glad that we got a time to get to know each other better. And I'm confident that this will allow us to help to work more effectively together. I was also able to finalize our first event for the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, which was going to be a headshots event. So I'm working with Creative Digital Service to schedule this headshots event. It is not tentative, also, although the agenda says it's tentative, it is now secured, as I have also confirmed the room. So this event will happen in October 25th from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. in room 613 in the same floor. Sorry, doesn't matter. In room 613. This event is open for all the students, and we will be marketing it in our social media. It's just basically an opportunity for everyone to be able to have their headshot taken. So far, we have a maximum capacity of 60 students. All of you are also invited, so I'll be talking more about this in the future once we actually have a flyer, but this is just a great opportunity for you and your friends to get a headshot, a professional headshot. I also attended the bicycle advisory meeting on October 6th from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. in representation of USG. In this meeting, we discussed USG's plan to achieve gold rating in bicycle-friendly university. Here is the agenda, and then we will also be meeting again on November 3rd from 1 to 2 p.m. So if you're interested in attending this meeting, we basically talk about how to make bicycling more accessible to campus. We have a few student voices there. It's really just me and another organization. So if you're interested in joining, this is great. And then we're working on finding a time with my committee. So if you're part of my committee, please reply to my email so we can get that together. Please also join the group meeting, which I recently sent. And then I'm working on creating an application for deputy chair, and I will share more details with the diversity and inclusion committee members. Thank you.
Great, thank you. If you have any questions, please email Danny. And with that, the report of the diversity and inclusion committee chair has been filed. Next, we have the report of the legislative affairs committee chair.
Hey everyone, so I met with Martine Frias to discuss issues at the Mental Health Counseling Center and potential solutions. I hope to complement this with a further meeting with our team Diana next week. I attended the STEP meeting. I met with Director Williams, and we sort of heard all the points from previous reports on what we talked about. I was particularly interested in Flames Fair and Dragon Dollars, and sort of combining the two, because sometimes I think it serves as a barrier to students. There's an e-board team building exercise last Friday. I'm trying to finalize the LAC guidebook and create positions for my committee members. And with that, we have locked in an LAC weekly meeting, which is Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. You might time for questions.
Great, thank you. If you have any questions, please contact Mike. And with that, the report of the diversity legislative affairs committee chair has been filed. Next, we have the report of the public affairs committee.
Okay, I finished editing the guidebook, and I was working on the brand guide and will continue working on that. I created 2 Google Forms. One is for, I might have actually created 3. I don't know. There were a lot. Sorry for all the emails. For graduating members. And I want you to fill that out by tonight if you have not already. It's to gauge how many custom stoles and cords we need to order. It doesn't matter what semester you're graduating in. We just want to get it in time for those graduating this semester. So please fill that out by tonight. Another Google form I sent out was for Matt to use in updating the website. If you're a returning member and your major has changed or you want to use a different photo, fill that out, but it's especially important for the new representatives so we can get you up on the website. I'm still working on updating the website with Matt. I updated all of the meeting agendas and minutes as of now, and then Matt's going to take that over now. And I worked on Treasure Hawk with getting the stamp, which was delivered today. So I have to pick that up tomorrow. And we're working on getting the custom stoles business approved because it's an outside vendor. So we're trying to get that approved so that you guys can have something special to wear on graduation. And that is the end of my report.
Great, thank you. If you have any questions, please email Abby, and then that's the report of the public affairs committee chair and file. Next, we have the report of the student success committee chair.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have a quote as well. That's not an original idea. Happiness is a direction, not a place. So this week is the textbook 40-day week of action for Illinois PIRG. It's a student organization here on campus. Across the nation, PIRG chapters are hosting events and doing tabling. Here at the UIC chapter, we'll be doing a table at the quad this Wednesday, October 13th from says 12 to 2, but we've changed the date to from 1 to 2. So it'll only be an hour. And in addition, we're also hosting some statewide action block Thursday, October 14th over Zoom from 6 to 7. If anyone is interested in helping out, we'll just be gauging the student population on how much they've spent on textbooks. So this is greatly related to my committee. So if you're able to help, I'll ensure that you'll be given the maximum amount of points that can be awarded. In terms of sustainability, in the group me, I've sent a registration form for a sustainability conference that UIC is the host institution of. I believe it's the it's like a sustainability conference for higher education. But I think it's very important that as many of us can join this conference, especially from the 5 to 6 p.m. Slot, because they've noted that that would be like the networking aspect of the event. And I think that would be important for us in the sustainability efforts we have here. The link is in my report, but it's also on GroupMe. So I met with Provost Reyes, with Anshu, Arthur, and John. So yeah, the provost is very receptive of the OER ideas. As a committee, we'll push hard and lobby department heads and college deans to be in support of open educational resources. I guess the next immediate steps we'll take is to meet with the Dean of Libraries and Director of OER, but I believe that meeting has been scheduled for 2 weeks from now. My committee has some very exciting initiatives. I'm excited to work on that with them and cultivate their ideas. We'll continue to review the following programs listed in my report to ensure that it's a polished idea when we bring it up to you guys as an item discussion or even as a resolution. And as an update for the career development event I'm doing with the LES Internships and Career Development Department, we've met. It is now an official event, so now we're going towards planning the schedule of this event, the agenda, and working with other career development departments across the UIC. And attached in my report is a document on zero textbook cost degrees, or known as Z degrees. I encourage everyone to read this, as it contains all the information you need to know about OER and Z degrees. And yeah, if you have any questions, please email me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And with that, the report of the Student Success Committee Chair has been filed. And last but not least, we have the report of the Campus Life Team Leader.
Hello. Okay, so last week I attended the orientation. It was really great to get to know some of you, kind of see how we all engage with one another. And I also attended the executive board, I guess, meeting event. So I had a lot of fun there. So I also picked and found the deputy chair for the campus life committee. So congratulations to Megan. So something that we've been working on in our committee is the library. We're trying to get into contact with some staff to change the library hours, make it 24 hours again for all students. Really great. Now that we're in midterms, probably won't be in effect soon, but hopefully for sure by finals. Really great resource, trying to find ways to make it more commuter friendly. Assistant Director of the Gender and Sexuality Center, Moises, reached out to me about the concerns for the quad redesign. So I brought those up during our meeting today. So today we set up that meeting and then we had an hour-long discussion. It was really great to understand where everyone was coming from when it came to the cultural centers. And then I talked to the executive board about the concerns. Then I'm setting up a meeting with Kevin Kane, the fraternity sorority life director, talk about ways that a USG and FLS can work together for future events. And I'm planning on connecting with Kelly McCrae, the executive director of student transitions and connections, to just connect with them. So, and then I plan on also working on the guidebook as well. So that's the end of my report. Give my time.
Great, thank you. If you have any questions, please email Felix. The next order is, and with that, the report of the Campus Life Committee Chair has been filed. The next order of business is announcements. Are there any announcements? Great, our next order of business.
Tanya.
Tanya.
Oh, I just wanted to announce next month, MAPS, which is Minority Association for Pre-Med Students, is hosting an event the week of November 8th. It's called Minority, I can't remember, but I'll put it in an email, I'll put it in the email. And I'm inviting you all to attend the week of it. It's a lot of pre-professional organizations. They are going to be a part of this, kind of spotlighting minority issues that are happening, that these pre-professionals will be addressing, so pre-law society, pre-dental, pre-med, and so on and so forth. SJP is going to be there, so if you have any questions, just let me know. I just wanted to let you all know about this.
Great, thank you. And with that, our next, Felix.
Sorry, I just want to make one announcement. So the School of Music is holding performances this week. So they'll be in the Illinois room. It starts Wednesday. I'll be performing in the choir from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So please sure to come. Appreciate the plug. And then so on Thursday there'll be the orchestra and then there'll be the jazz band. So feel free, it's free. Illinois room, Pearson Center East. Come check out some free music. It'll be fun.
Last announcement, May's senior night is on Sunday. She's on the soccer team. She's a rep. I will send information on that. I'm gonna go, so if anyone else wants to go, show your support for her. Also in the group chat. And with that, our next order of business is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Okay, for a second.
I second that.
All right,